too, can you?
Try to actually
And
sing
we-
it out. I mean, just the sounds that.
And we
Wanna
can
do
we
it?
can just
Somebody
see
needs to-
how, when,
uh,
that's fine.
If the urban is the result of continuous construction and reconstruction based on redundancy and reuse, the built environment is never fully stabilized and completed. The countryside shares this unstable quality, except that the time period of the process becomes longer and the scale of impact is often greater. The cycle of evaluating, defining, and facilitating the turnover of the countryside also tends to be more complex. This is because it requires consideration of the wider natural system, including the characteristics and growth cycles of plants, shape, and habitats of animals. And, where there are traces of urbanization, it involves the same considerations of multiple interests as in the city. Should government departments, non-government organizations, or individuals intervene in problems that occur in the countryside? It is difficult to decide. How to carry out reforestation? For Mahamad Shan, it is hard to give an answer. Mahamad Shan is an extension of the Shantinja town in Hong Kong, and the country park in which it is located covers an area of 2,880 hectares. Initially caused by industrialization brought about by the iron ore mining industry in the last century, the landscape change of Mahamad Shan has gone through various stages of destruction, restoration, and re-restoration. Each phase of transformation involves multiple human demands in conflict with the laws of nature, as well as multiple conflicts of interest within the human race. At the same time, the transformation of the dominant players in each period has led us to consider the possibilities and importance of public-private partnerships. The influencing elements of this conflict and cooperation depend on the local natural conditions and cultural lineage. The Mahamad Shan iron mine landscape is a typical urban historical landscape, a product of transnational urbanization. Its history can be traced back to the early 20th century. The Mahamad Shan iron mine is positioned on the southwestern side of Mahamad Shan within the new territory. This mine lies within the contact zone between igneous rock and granite, where ancient geological movements have resulted in metamorphic rocks and minerals that have endowed Mahamad Shan with abundant reserves of iron ore. 1905, the government received an application from a foreign businessman seeking permission to conduct mining exploration. During the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong, open pit mining operations were initiated at Maui Iron Mine by the Japanese. Subsequently, in 1953, a joint venture was established with Japan and Mahamad Shan, whereby Japan agreed to provide financial and technical support for constructing an ore concentrator, as well as leasing a complete ore processing facility to enhance iron content for export purposes. Over time, various residential areas such as Peak Districts, Mid-Levels Districts, and Docklands Districts emerged in Mahamad Shan alongside signs of industrialization and urbanization. Unfortunately, this progress led to significant destruction of natural vegetation foreign trees and planting native species. The trees that have been cut will be stacked in the forest to form a microbial environment to improve the biodiversity of the country park. The members of Anshan Exploration Museum are not limited to the villagers in the peak area of Ma on Shan, and their work is carried out with the support of the government. The government will issue NGO a list of trees that belong to the local area of Ma on Shan and are suitable for planting every year, and the Taitong Nursery affiliated to ASCD will directly provide the seedlings of trees included in the list. At the same time, NGO is only allowed to plant trees provided by the government. This activity will continue until 2025. Under the organization of Anshan Exploration Museum, tree planting activities are also open to the public. The repair of natural ecology in Ma on Shan has achieved remarkable results, and almost no traces of the fire can be seen. However, the historical sites of Ma on Shan are not effectively preserved, but gradually replaced by natural ecology.
Okay. And our group site is located in Ma'anshan Country Park. We hope to study the reforestation mode of Ma'anshan Country Park. We will further evaluate the reforestation mode of Ma'anshan Country Park by discussing the following 4 parts of the questions, including exploring the selection of tree species, operation mode, relationship between interest objects, and new future concerns in the process of reforestation. And here come to our first part.
As you can see in the form, all the species in the form is the natural species of the Ma'anshan district. So my first question is, start with a simple question: what is the exotic species and what is the natural species?
It's too much of It's too much of as a native. Number 7. It's too much of
Number 7 is the answer.
And then 36 is
No. My question actually is
Describe what it is.
Yeah. Very simple describe.
You're too much deeper.
Yeah, actually, we didn't prepare the exotic plants of the Ma'anshan. All of this list in the form are natural. So it's just a definition of try to explain the definition of exotic species and the natural species. Can you?
Well, I think the exotic means which the plant did not exist initially in the place, and it is brought by some artificial power. While another one, in the opposite, the domestic plant is the ones that initially is living here. And well, you need more explanation?
exotic.
Oh, go ahead.
Exotic is like invasive species somehow, and then they would go to a place and then do not have much ecological value. They grow super fast. But native, they have comparatively high ecological value that attract providing habitat for different kind of birds or other wildlife.
Yeah, but I think what I say is a part of exotic species. Exotic species doesn't mean说了一说中文吗？ 这个刚刚
No friend. Sorry.
So
Okay,
five
I will just give the answer. An exotic species is a species that has been inadvertently or intentionally introduced by humans to an area outside its original geographic range. And the naturalized species is a A naturalized species is an exotic species that has been spread from places of origin and established self-sustaining populations over generations without direct human intervention. And a native species is a species that occurs naturally or is native to a particular area.
Can I ask a
So-
question?
Yeah.
So like, how many years, so is it native if it was introduced like 1,000 years ago? Or 100 years ago? or something like that? You know what I mean? Because humans have been around Hong Kong for like 6,000 years or something.
Yeah.
So like, what's the time cutoff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it like 300 years or 10 or 50 years?
About the exact time, I don't have an answer, but I think it depends when the species is naturalized. Like I said, they have established self-sustaining populations over generations in these places.
So your question is, when did it happen?
Yeah.
We introduced alien species to Hong Kong,
Yeah.
or how it happened.
Yeah, when?
So, I think I read a paper that told us once there was a time the cow the cow introduced a lot of the native alien species to Hong Kong. That's one of the reasons. And maybe the Hong Kong is an island, so it's not easy for the alien species to come from other place to our island. So maybe birds and the transportation maybe could be a big reason. So maybe I think it's a dynamic course, and after the transportation of the airplane develop, it will have a maybe increase the ability of the alien species to come here.
I think it depends when it established its own ecological.
So like a tomato, like if you're planting like food, like rice or tomatoes or something, but then if it's in a garden, it's like not it's not native, but it doesn't grow on the mountain, right? But if it were to start growing on the mountain, it would be naturalized after this is established.
Okay, so the next question is what is the nature of reforestation in country parks? I mean, what is the meaning of reforestation in country parks? Why we have the reforestation activities in country parks?
Especially in Hong Kong, those countryside mountains, they are always easy to destroy by wildfire. And then this kind of deforestation is kind of secondary forest replantation.
It's part of the reason. And according to the reference, since the British occupation of Hong Kong 115 years ago, large-scale plantation planting has begun to provide the wood raw materials for the local people in Queensland like that. And during the brief occupation of Hong Kong by Japan, a large number of trees were cut down, which had a certain impact on the local ecology. And then there were no large-scale urbanization of Hong Kong. So in fact, the highland vegetation ecology of Hong Kong has been in a stage of constantly degradation. And so in the 1970s, the Hong Kong government designated 24 country parks to carry out ecology restoration in Hong Kong. So actually it's a very ecological act of that. So, and about the, it seems that, do you think the exotic species are all bad? Okay. So actually, according to the reference, most studies indicate that exotic trees used as nurse species could which could accelerate forest development on degraded lands. It's a very important conclusion. Means that the exotic species not as usual. People usually think that it would destroy the local ecology cycle.
So the government's using exotic species to plant on purpose?
Yeah, on purpose. But they don't know what is the right match. Yeah, they are trying. They have a trial.
So do they kill them if it's not the right match? Do they just cut
Yeah.
it out? Do they do that?
Or they don't need to. The government doesn't need to kill them. They just didn't survive in this ecological system, so they were just.
So what example, like a good example would be like a non-native tree, but it attracts like native birds
Yeah.
or something. That would be like a good example or something.
I don't know the Latin names.
Of what? There's acacia? Oh yeah, there's one of acacias in Hong Kong. They're from Africa or something. Accelerate forest development on degraded lands. Spontaneous recolonization by native species. Interesting. From acacia.
Acacia have very short lifespan in Hong Kong, or just because they were planted in Hong Kong, usually they have sugar. Acacia conjunctions or acacia species have a relatively shorter lifespan in Hong Kong, or they also have very short lifespan in their native country or in their native region. Or they sorry.
他说 cancer conference 好像只有在香港才命那么短。
According to Google, it says 20 to 30 years.
So they like very short life.
Okay.
它就是
答对。
你的，快认准是，应该是。
我才不知道那是
就是这里面的 cancer conference。
啊，这个树是那乔木吗？台湾是乔木吗？
I'm just curious.
It's just a kind of tree which grows fast and have short lifespan.
Hongui, do you have any questions?
Yes, you do.
What do you think about acacias?
You like it?
Acacia 是什么？
Yeah.
What do you think?
像是
Actually, the NGO members told us they don't like cancer computer.
Why?
I think that they think it's a bad tree because they can live long, and so they were cut them down.
You interviewed them?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Uh, lower the density.
Yeah, lower the density of the architecture.
Okay, some parties over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's my turn, and yeah, based on Lu Tong's talk, we all know that in some situation we have to introduce alien species to Hong Kong, help to develop to help to develop the biodiversity of the ecology.然后 so after I hear some of your answers, maybe for Ling Yu, my group mate, you're talking about maybe we'll say is what the proportion of the domain species can be. So I want to ask you more deeply, like, what do you think in which situation can I listen?
I'm trying to understand what you're
In what
talking
situation
What?
you think the alien species can be dominate the whole ecology, or in which situation the native species will have should have the dominant position? Yes, we know in natural situation the native species should be the main species in the area, but I want to ask, do you think in some circumstances alien species can be the dominant species?
Something about that.
Yeah.
I think the example of the Mahanshan is quite typical that exotic can perhaps do some work, because when you are talking about the reforestation, it means that the previous forest has already been gone, and there is no ability for the place here to do the resilience work by the species and by the even the plantations it have right now, the existing plantations. So when people concerning about the ecological issues, they want to enhance the resilience ability to these species. That can be the circumstance that the exotic species work and do a better systematic circulation in these places and let the exotic species work.
Yeah, I think you're right. In some circumstances, there will be disease to kill all most of the native species. We have to introduce new alien species to help them to provide the land, provide the soil and water, and help to conserve the water and soil. That's one of the and another situation I think is in maybe the density of the human living city. There is so little species in the city, so we have to introduce more native species to help to build ecologic, yeah. And for Estella, I think I want to ask you, can you say some advantage or disadvantage of the species? I think I want to ask the specific species you will choose. Maybe can you tell the character of the why do you think we have to introduce some alien species, and maybe what the drawbacks it cause?
Alien species 就是非地species 的语境的入口可翻啊，银河翻宽，and Natana Manata Mayuna, is that this kind of species?
Yes, that's right.
Are they being introduced in Hong Kong, or they are introduced by human or introduced by pollinators like birds, insects. I want to ask before answering. Do you mean the alien species introduced by human or the alien species
Introduced by
To Hong Kong.
to Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's so different.
Can you explain the question a bit before?
just simplify why you think we have to introduce alien species.
Actually, I don't think you have to introduce alien species on the Hong Kong because they are like destroying the local habitat and they grow super fast, and then they would kill some native species, particularly those climbing plants. Like,
Yeah, I think actually it's like a case study, but maybe in this area we don't need too much species introduced here, but maybe in some other area, it is like an example. So I think I just give some answers, maybe can give you some. Wait. First, I think every species can feel the ecological niches that is in new environment where they can adapt and survive. They can easily survive in a bad environment in that area. And when they survive, they can help the native species grow up. And another is the alien species can control and reduce the local pest and disease individually. Thereby, they can reducing the pesticide and use and protecting the crops in the economic point. And third, I think the alien species can improve the soil fertility and water retentions to improve the soil and water quality. That is, I think, really so I think I'm on progress over.
Then it's my part. Here's my question. I want to talk about the reforestation law in Hong Kong. Whether the existing forest model is suitable for Manshan, and what level of reforestation activities should be carried out to ensure the protection of the forest in Manshan Country Park. I just did 3 kinds of reforestation mode. You can talk about some advantages or disadvantages of each mode, and you can also talk about the future mode that you suggest on Manshan. Yeah.
In my opinion, also just use the wind some seats in here. It's a really long process because maybe after when we see the video is that it may happen some through fire, mountain fire. After the fire, the soil and the water and some environment is changed. So if we just use the plan A, I think it may use long time. But as for the plan B, I think it's needs a lot of manpower and a lot of cost to plan some springs to here. but we can guarantee this green can survive in its place. And as for the fancy, I think it's maybe more reasonable. It's so comprehensive methods. So I think fancy is the best. Maybe.
What is signpost emergency management? What are signpost emergency for cleansing? What is it?
Oh, sorry, stop. It's so in. Stop.
That's so heavy.
Yes, sorry. Stop. Some mention.
I think for plan A, it's cheap, so it's good. So it's not nothing to lose if there's no fires. So for B and C, I'm not sure how much would it cost, but I think transplant of trees is a good way, although it's super expensive, but they got a better survival rates. And I think because they're not baby, right? If they transplant. So they can survive over typhoons, at least they're stronger.
So the sound from baby is better than transplant.
But do you remember the Gavin field trip we went?
He said,
Yeah.
don't cut plant from small.
Oh, really?
Somewhat small. Like not too, like there's an optimal thing where it's like.
No, not from seed.
Yeah, I think more trees are transplanted from the plantation.
Nursery?
Yeah, yeah.
It's better? Or not good?
I think it's better because it make sure because if you grow it like this, you don't know how many seeds will survive. Because many seeds in Hong Kong is difficult to survive.
Yeah.
Even for native trees.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
You know, Ian Robbins or something was right. Isn't that right? Yes. There's like he gave us some statistic with like 50%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information, but apparently it's the last method to do it in the nursery.
Yeah. Yeah, the transplanting is quite limited. It's depends on the tree transplant, the size of it, and the roots. How can you really do it? Transplantation has a lot of limitations. It's really so much.
So are these three models just theoretical, or are they being what?
I think the third model is the current model that Lanshan group take. So do you have any suggestions that the future Lanshan group can take?
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know how those angel plant trees. Do you remember when we go to Fort in Chiang Mai, and then we go to plant some trees there, and then they ask us to put the tree in a plastic bag, and then we have to tear the plastic bag out. And then I found that the trees, when they grow super fast, they already like trim it in the plastic bag, and then we can't remove the plastic bag. So, do you think this kind of method is problematic in Hong Kong? Is bad in Hong Kong? I just asked.
Yeah, the plastic. We have solar
There's in Kennedy,
Yeah.
the two trees.
Yeah.
So we did a site visit with Ian Robinson for urban floriculture like last weekend, and there were these two trees that were planted at the same time, and one of them looked like the trunk was like this thick and was still alive, and the other one, the trunk was like that thick and it was dead. It was like it fell over a typhoon, and he found that there was actually, they left it in the plastic bag, basically. And so the group ball never expanded, and then it just died after like 10 years or something.
Yeah, and the roots, as you said in Shanghai, that there is a little roots getting out, and most of them are still restrained in the plastic bag, and it is necessary that you remove it when you really do the transplantation or do the surgery.
Yeah, so he said like the people in the nursery know that, like the landscape architects know that, but the contractors just, it takes them like 5 minutes, they just like dump the tree in there and like finish, and then 10 years later the tree dies. So I guess always take away the plastic bag and recycle it.
Do you have some suggestions?
I think last time we went to visit the nursery. I don't remember where it was. Like I think there was class the ecology class. You say that make sure the intervals between the trees that you planted. So it could be that it couldn't be that old trees. I mean, planet when it was young, like when we got it. That's what I mean.
The older the tree starts to red.
Like because if the tree is too old, like for example, for a certain area, like for if the intervals, if the trees grows like more than 2 or 3 years, like it will need more space for it to survive. Like so there may be no enough space to make sure they have enough intervals between them to support the nutrients or something.
Yeah, the plant is older and we have to transfer more soil, and we have to cut more of the roots.
Yeah, but actually, if you like transplant it in an early stage, like it can grow. Like if you, how to say, compare with different like you plant earlier or later. Like if you plant it earlier, it like after it grow into a forest, it will be like the intervals will be smaller, like it can be more dense. But if you grow it, like plant it to there in a later stage, then it couldn't be that dense. And
You're saying you plant in an early age, still will be more density, increased density.
yeah, fine.
But I think in a younger age of the trees, there will be species competition. They will, like 2 trees, one will die, one will survive.
Yeah,
If you
stronger survive.
If you plant it so young, it will just kill.
Yeah, like for
So we
and for different each of the specific species, they have a suitable interval.
Yeah.
So I make a conclusion. I think. Or do you have anything to say?
I also prefer the option C. I think it's more reasonable. Will have a higher rate of success to maintain the reforestation process.
Okay. I think for the model A, it takes a long time and is valuable to other man-made accidents in the process. So I think it is more suitable for sites away from human activities. And for choice B, And the choice of tree species is very dependent on experimental results. Careless selection of species can lead to disruption of the ecological balance. This method usually allows for better control of growing conditions of plants and improve their survival rates. And for choice C, I think maybe it has too much human intervention, and it needs more capital investment. So I think for Manshan future reforestation program, to some extent, it is corresponding to the degree of human intervention according to ecological value after appropriate plant renewal in the necessary area, and which can reduce human interference in areas of high ecological value, prohibit human activities, and focus on monitoring and recording of plant and animal activities. So I think for some parts of Manshan which are highly protected, it can use choice A, and for the areas of low ecological values, possibly close to human activities, which will increase the risk of publicity, raising community residents' awareness of risk prevention and relevant various interest organizations for plant innovation research. The relationship between these interest objects is discussed in the next part. So,
Okay, my part, and let's finish my part as soon as possible. So, I copied the idea from Daryl, so there are role play here for you guys. So let's imagine you two officials of AFCD and you two villagers of Ma'anshan village and you two NGO members of Ma'anshan, and Brad, you are landscape architect. so let's imagine. Do you guys have any potential attitude for the reforestation activity?
For what?
You potential attitude for reforestation activity as the options of AFCD.
As the role that we are playing right now.
Yeah. So you are option.
Well, again, what I am. Okay.
So as the officials of the AFCD.
Yeah.
Well, my first difficulty is the funding, so we don't have too much money for these activities, and what we have to do is like we need to make our policies stable, and we have to make the baseline is stable, effective, cheap, and not leading to much serious arguments.
And I think we also should face some problem about the hierarchy of the ecological objectives, contradictions. Do you think we should?
I think my potential attitude maybe do more research about something like how to define the species of trees we want to plant on this site. Like we talk a lot about whether it's exotic or not. Like I think the exotic things is not the most important one. I think we should do more research on whether it support the foods for the little species, for the birds, something else, living together with them, that they make good, that they do something good, that they make good effort to the ecosystem. So I think we should do more research about that and plant more trees, more good trees on it. But not to talk to them more about whether it's exotic or not.
So what about
No, what trees again?
villagers?
Yeah. Villagers.
I think maybe the species could also be some eatable foods, such as the lychee and manga. Maybe I can also open up a small bird.
Okay.
Yeah, we agree to plant some species, we can eat the fruits, and some species can create a garden or a park for our villagers to do some recreational activities. Because if you just to put this whole area to ecological conservation things, I think maybe our villagers could get involved in it or enjoying the beautiful scenery. So I think maybe you can consider give us some part, some place to play and enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
I know the government want to do lots of development of the periphery of the country part in Hong Kong, and then always they have some plans wanna chop down some trees of the country parks. But I know you also do a lot of works, particularly the AFCD. You have a nursery died home, and then we visit AFCD before in the last semester by Gavin, and then the staff told me that they don't want to plant any exotic plants anymore, and they want to replace by native species, especially 大头茶. Always here, Phyllanthus Polyspora acilaris, and then so that I think it is very good. But as NGO, since we don't have money, so we want the government to provide us more fundings so that we would not do anything opposing the urban development. But we still have to do some education work and let us to organize some education talks. And it's going to be really very
We understand that the government want a quick way to grow a forest, and also the villagers may have an intention not to have native plants, because native plants attract a lot of animals disturbing their life. But these kind of things cannot be selfish and cannot be quick. As a short term, it may be great on planting exotic plants, but for the long run, I mean, like for the survival rate for the trees and the whole habitat creations, I think we insist to have more native plants and more money for us to do more nurseries. From the seed selections to growing them from baby to a small trees, that would be great for growing a forest in the long run.
As a landscape architect, I would also like to ask for more funding, money.
Funding and money.
Grants, money, and funding, as well as cash. Octopus credit. Yeah, so I guess we can look at the entire site part, and then we can do more research and collaborate with other departments to have a holistic view of what's already there and what's being implemented. And then we could perhaps maybe start like a public competition for other students and other landscape architects, just to kind of source ideas of how we can potentially have a design intervention or a resilience plan. And then we can, maybe with some of that money, we can like offer prizes just to incentivize people to participate. And then we could potentially build something from one of the, I mean, we can see what we get. And then what else? So if I'm a landscape architect, am I already like, do I have like the ability to
give the power.
do something? I guess I would build like some sort of like a public, some way that the public could go in and experience the forest without harming it, and then be educated by it. I guess that's what my company would do as well. And then we would hire consultants, experts in the industry to share well, and then we would ask, what do you think we should do with Ma'anshan Country Park?
You're asking me now? I have it, we finished to.
Yeah.
Our last, let's say architects. I wonder whether there's any indigenous knowledge that we can tap into. I look at things like the functional woodland, many of which have become, ecologically very diverse and valuable structures, which were generated by the villagers without funding. I wonder, and there must be practices related to that. I wonder if getting that relationship between the community and the forest, again, and facilitating that through funding or through provision of ceilings or what have you. I wouldn't be drawn too much about relating to this, because I don't think AFCD actually have a plan other than just to produce lots of plans. But I think the villagers probably hold the most important role in this, in getting them a greater sense of ownership of the forest, rather than it just being something government does up on the hill and everybody can. If we can get the villagers to sponsor or to protect in some way the forest, I think that might be a good agency, a way of making change. I despair of the money angle. I think you're right. I think we need money, but there seems to be this sort of view that it just needs money. I think it actually needs people. And the money is important in terms of funding activities, but I think just asking FCD to produce more plants is really going to do it. So we get just paid and Gavin leaving.
Yeah. Unless he let this police for
change name. I hate change name.
Unless he let this be planted in the.
This is everywhere. It's in Caledonia, it's I mean, it's everywhere. People read up on this. I am just kidding. Okay. Carry on. You need more noise.
Can I ask a quick question? Did they convince the villagers to stop doing the fires, the angry fire? Is that something that they stopped doing, or they continued? In the video, I saw that they set it on fire.
Actually, they have some, the way of the plant tree have some concept about that question, but I don't know how they do. But they have to do something already.
Last time we went to Ma'anshan, and we worked with few concepts come from
Fire.
Fire ambulance.
This is how to stop.
And the helicopter on our, I have seen something happened.
There will be one more food
Oh，他们问的防火测试。
哦，是的，我知道。
对，就那个。Did you, did you fire station?
I think that little
Difficult to prevent.
specific actions to prevent the set fires. Because that fires are caused just by accident, you can just write the fire alert system. That's when utilities have the fire extinguisher, the tip and the saver will come. And people don't set the fire on purpose. Most of these are just accidents. Yeah.
Actually, they have a countryside park and a graveyard, so it's hard to prevent that thing.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a big problem actually.
Yeah. Many
Go
people
burn down.
when they are
刚刚这一点空。
and many people when they are trying to barbecue.
Oh,
So
Yeah. So, we can. Do you want? So it is already finished actually.